Hi, this is Arena McWilliam Lopez from 1623 Studios, and I'm joined here by Pam Beaudoin, the Manchester Essex Regional School District Superintendent. And we're going to hear about some of the latest priorities and updates from the school community side of things. So Pam, thanks so much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you here. You've been very busy dealing with a lot of changes in our local schools. So first, how are you managing things?
We're managing pretty well given the circumstances, and I'm sure you've heard the phrase uncharted waters too many times in the past month, but that's exactly where we're at. We're navigating day by day, and I'm really lucky to have a fantastic and supportive community and school-based team that's really given it their all. And I am just so proud and so amazed at how quickly we've been able to take a bricks and mortar operation and turn on a dime and try to create an online learning environment for kids. But it hasn't been an easy task, to be honest. A little bit of building a plane while we're flying it.
Yes, definitely. Or building the ship while you're already in the water, right?
So yeah, a better analogy for the nautical reference.
And tell us about just current priorities. You know, I'm imagining that you've sort of moved through the major part of that process, getting everyone online and getting used to this environment. And so what are the priorities right now?
So coming out of the gate, I'm sure you've talked to other people in the region. Our main priorities were health and safety of the students, making sure students who relied on school for lunches still had access to that, helping families get up and running with any, if they had food insecurity, making sure there was a place for them to go. So that was the initial work out of the gate. And while we were doing that, we were also working on ensuring that students had access to technology in their homes, because we knew we were going to be shifting pretty quickly to trying to do some type of delivery online. Admittedly, in the beginning, it seemed like it was going to be maybe a 2-week activity. So I think if we knew then what we knew now, we may have set up a little differently at the onset. But that first week was really spent getting computers into kids' hands, and we probably gave out between 40 and 50 computers. So kids had access at home. We helped some families get online. Not everybody is a big supporter of the internet. So we had some families that either didn't have access for financial reasons or didn't have access for philosophical reasons. So we worked with those families to make sure that they could connect with us. And then, I think what I've learned in this process is we felt really confident going into it that we had the tools necessary to deliver online instruction, but it's become such a learning process that there is so much more to it than just having a tool to connect with people. So we've spent quite a bit of time trying to build capacity within our staff to be able to connect effectively to kids. And now, to the question you asked, what we're working on now is improving upon that. So the state came out with some guidance about how we can start to advance the curriculum. So we're going to start to roll those changes out over the next couple of weeks. And then our big push between now and the end of the year is to increase presence online. We've been there, not always in an audio-visual manner. Sometimes it's more of a text exchange through Google Classroom. So what we're hoping to see over the next couple of months is an increased presence online in more direct teaching.
Wow, and it sounds like a lot of what you're bringing up is around equity. And so would love to hear, how you're thinking about equity. It's a very dynamic situation, but I think in the news, there's been a lot of stories about that being a challenge for schools.
So yes, and every community is facing its own equity issues. So I would say it's all relative. I have colleagues who work in the western part of the state, and they don't have connectivity. They don't have broadband. So getting kids online is a challenge all unto itself. So they're relying on, and some of my friends who work in city schools, it's the same thing. They're relying on traditional means of mailing out packets or doing packet pickups or using their bus services to deliver packets of old style, worksheets and notebooks to kids. So that's one extreme of the equity issue. The other is just every household is unique. If you have kids, a day is challenging to try to wrangle them on a Saturday when you're just trying to do your family agenda. Now you have to build in time for school. And we're designed as schools to be an in-person operation, not an online operation. So we can't become the University of Phoenix overnight. It's going to take us a while to build our capacity there. But I think I see and hear from parents who are struggling just with how do you build a structure to keep kids engaged during the day. You know, I'm not prepared to teach math to my student. So I think a lot of what we're working through is how do we build structures that support the parents so they can support their students to access the curriculum that we're getting ready to roll out, where when we have them in school, the school becomes the means of leveling the playing field. So whether the student has a learning disability, a financial deficit, doesn't have appropriate supports at home, or is on track to go to Yale, we can create an environment where every student gets what he or she needs. And we do that through people and having a people connection. You know, some kids need someone to work with them all day, every day, just to navigate their day, and some kids are super independent. So I think what we're trying to figure out is a pace that's appropriate in terms of the curriculum that doesn't leave anyone behind. But I think we're also struggling with how do we keep kids who move very quickly through the curriculum engaged, so we don't create a huge gap when we get back to whatever the new normal is going to be. So it's a very interesting challenge, and I think, you know, if we're looking for positives that are coming out of this experience, I would say putting this discussion in the fore is really important, because this is what we struggle with in school systems year in and year out. And when you talk about budgeting and financing and how do we appropriately account for the varying needs throughout the state, this is the problem we're always trying to solve. How to make sure kids have enough resources so that we level the playing field so everybody can access education and meet their full potential.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in terms of communicating, you know, you're dealing with all these different variables, these different layers, these different stakeholders. How is that communication process different now than it was before?
I think before we took for granted the ability to connect with someone in person and what you gain from that. So I'm personally really missing the in-person contact, the quick conversation you have on the soccer field or when someone's picking up their student. You learn a lot from that. So now we're pretty much in the world of email and multiple email volleys. And I think things get lost in translation. Even getting used to the Zoom and the Skype and the WebEx formats. It's great to see faces, but it's not the same as an in-person meeting. In some ways, they're far more efficient, so we're picking up, you know, time and efficiency and working through agendas. But in other ways, we are losing that camaraderie of the personal connection. We did our first virtual coffee this morning, so an opportunity for parents to drop in and ask questions, which is a takeoff on the old coffee hours that we used to have at school. So it's going well. In a recent survey, we asked whether or not our communication was just right, and I think the administrators are communicating a lot because we want people to know where we're going and what we're doing, but that seems to be more the technical and bureaucratic. Really hearing people want to hear more from their teachers, they want to see their teachers more, and they want the comfort of that connection. So I think that's going to be part of what we're working on going forward. But communication is a challenge always.
Yes, definitely. I remember that I'm a parent of school-age children, so it's always, you have those folks that over-communicate and those folks that you're not sure if they're even listening. So and some are like, please stop with the emails. You're killing us. I can't take one more. And it's like, we never hear it from you on the other side of the spectrum. So, you know, it's always a balancing act. And I think we just try to listen and incorporate as much feedback as possible into what we're doing. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your incredibly packed schedule.
Sure.
And thank you so much for the work that you're doing for our community. So important.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Great talking to you.
Likewise.